All right, VV Nation. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. The alert should be hitting. I got Joey in the background here. Hopefully, we'll have everything set up for AMA's Wednesday's live stream. Hopefully, that will be back in the training center. So, be a lot of good information there. If you can hear me, if you can see me, put a VV Nation in the comment section. Oh, Pennywise beat me right to it here. Roxar says, crazy Monday. Alert. What alert, right? Did the alert hit? You know me and technology. I thought it hurt. It should be coming out any second. Hopefully. We'll see. All right. So, you can hear me? Perfect. Yes, the market's been a little crazy. I see the viewership ticking up right now as we're starting. I will say I did add a stock to my 2026 portfolio, and yes, it was UAMY. More of a trade, not necessarily an investment as far as this position in UAMY. Oh man, my GLDM, MLPS, oil and defense positions are on fire. Oh, we're going to talk about oil, talk about defense, right? I mean, there's not much to think about. Yeah, if you're going to be in the market right now, that is probably going to be the best place to be. As you can take a look, the NASDAQ was under a lot of pressure today. So clearly there's some dip buying going on in the NASDAQ as well. I think a lot of that has to do with that in partnership that we're seeing. Looks like NVDA having some interest in Photonics. I've been talking about Photonics in a while. Apparently, I guess it is important. It looks like several billion-dollar deal here. We've got momentum, we got COHR, but in general, the photonic stocks are on the rise today. But looking at the market here, you can see the sells still outweigh the buys right now. So the health of the market is not necessarily there. Getting trashed here, Cato's defend. Yeah, we can talk about some defense stocks. I have a feeling if you're going to be a trader, if you're trying to capture some of this, geopolitical momentum, natural gas, defense stocks, petroleum, rare earth, right? Coherent, yeah, up 14%. I saw that, Bill. I got the story on here as well. Joey, take me out to the screen capture. Let's take a look at the software real quick. We'll jump right in and see what's moving the market. We got the market timing gauge, 3 yellow lights across the board here. So have caution if you're buying stocks right now. And you can tell just looking at the top RT industries, petroleum, right? Look at the top RT sector, petroleum. You can see where the momentum is, and no surprise here. Drilling down a little bit, but international integrated is up almost 2% here. Look at the sector, up 1.5%. If I had to, let's see here. Let's actually make this a little bigger here. Let's do this a large. As far as the top sectors, mining down a little bit today. Looks like the money is going to go into petroleum, aerospace, and defense as well. No surprise there, right? No surprise. Morgan Stanley recommendation helped NVIDIA. I didn't even hear about the Morgan Stanley deal, to be honest. I'm going to say it's Photonics, right? I'm going to say it's Photonics. Yeah, I'm not sure what they said, whether they raised their guidance or price target. Was there an analyst, expectation out there? Yes, drones hit Saudi Arabia's largest refinery. That's Saudi Aramco. If you're not familiar here, USO is down from the open. I did see that. I kind of gapped up, gave a little bit of a back here. So, we're going to take a look at the charts. If you want to follow the news and the headlines, it might work or you might get burned, right? But you know me, I'm going to stick to the chart here. Anyone think Burry is crying? Oh, boo-hoo. Not necessarily, because I'm pretty sure that Palantir short is working out pretty well. And I'm pretty sure his NVIDIA's short was also around $190, $200. That depends on when the article came out. But I don't think he's crying. I don't think he's got Palantir. He probably celebrate. I'm sure he had a nice dinner based off of those shorts. 3 American G16s accidentally shot down by Kuwaitis. Oof. All right, we'll talk about it. I know there's a whole lot of news out there. You guys have already said it. Defense, oil, it's all about the Strait Hormuz. So we're going to get to that story in just a moment here. And natural gas, I'm sure if you're trading that, it's all about the ship tracker. Right now they're kind of stalled because of the geopolitical tensions. But if those ships start moving, what do you think is going to happen, right? Oil, natural gas, probably going to pull back a little bit. But again, that's all, going to be dependent on what's going on in the Middle East here. So we'll take a look. All right, let's jump into the news stories because other than, essentially World War III on the horizon, right? we've got earnings this week. It's not all about Iran. As far as today, we've got Space Mobile, ASTS. I did put Credo Technology in the group here. Tomorrow is going to be the big headline. That's CrowdStrike reporting after the bell. We got looks like some defensive consumer plays here. Ross Stores, Target Corporation. If I had to guess on which one's going to do better, Target or Ross, after the earnings announcement, I'm probably going to guess Ross personally. Just throwing that out there, but we'll take a look at it in the VectorVest software here. But this is the big one this week. It's Broadcom. Wednesday, right? I'm liking the setup. We'll take a look at the chart here because last time earnings, I didn't want to pick on them, but they were just overvalued. The top of that ascending channel, it didn't work out too well, right? And after earnings, this one, we're going to take a look at the chart. I'm not seeing as, A, right at resistance, B, overvalued. Well, it's a little overvalued, closer to the fair part, depending on how it's, the fourth, Wednesday. Yep, Wednesday. So afternoon market action, of course, we can discuss Broadcom a little bit more. I'll probably get some news stories, see exactly what's going on. Look at the option volatility. Does anyone know in the room what the options market are pricing in as far as volatility for Broadcom? If you put that in the comment section, that'll probably help a bunch of people here. So if you got some time, want to research that or just Google it, take about 2 seconds, right? All right, here is the U.S. economic calendar. We had ISM manufacturing. Declined a little bit here. We've got Fed tomorrow. Nothing real crazy, but a lot of employment data coming out the second half of this week. We've got ADP before the bell on Wednesday. We've got Fed Beige Book as well that afternoon. Thursday, again, employment data. Initial jobless claims coming out before the bell. U.S. productivity, import pricing, a couple more Fed chairs. And then look, again, employment data. U.S. Employment report, unemployment rate, all that good information here. That'll come out Friday. So just putting that on everyone's radar. Other than Iran, we've got a couple big techs. We've got a software company, CrowdStrike. We've got Broadcom reporting. That's going to be a big headline. Pretty sure it's still $1 trillion company, if I had to guess, at least close to it. See, other than that, it's just employment data. So let's get to it. Everyone's talking about. It's going to be Iran, the conflict in the Middle East. All right, so real quick before we do, I just wanted to give you a heads up. Last week, to take advantage of any of the coaching room packages, as well as some of these self-study courses. I know I mentioned this last week, and there was a lot of talk, but especially if you want to learn options, if you want to learn more technical insights. This is the one of Dr. David Paul that we spoke on a lot last week. The keys to consistent stock market success. So all of these are going to be discounted right now. So if you want to take advantage of some of the probably the actual lowest prices. I don't make the prices, but I guess these are probably the lowest all year round, historically speaking here. But there's a lot of information here. There's option courses, bottom fishing, swing trading. So if you really want to ramp up some of, those tools in your tools belt, great resources, and they're discounted right now. All right, let's get to it. Qatar stops LNG output after attack. European gas price could more than double. It's Goldman Sachs, right? Goldman Sachs. European natural gases could surge 130% of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz is halted for 1 month. That's the question, right? We all know it's been halted for the last few days with the conflict. But if these ships can't get through, because it's all about this right here, the Strait of Hormuz lasting more than 2 months would likely lift European natural gas. I don't know what that's compared to before, but you can see this being a big problem for European natural gas demand, as well on the petroleum side, oil, right? Oil, a lot of petroleum is going to China. If they can't get it, well, they have to go to the world market, putting pressure on prices, right? So we're seeing that up. Gold up, but gold stocks down. Odd. I did notice that on the homepage. I didn't really look at a whole lot of gold today, to be quite honest. But from what I saw, and I didn't see the spot price, but the miners themselves, a little bit mixed today, which, hey, if I had to guess, probably most of the attention's going to natural gas and petroleum, the geopolitical plays, maybe even shipping I've mentioned before, probably doing pretty well if I had to guess. See here, Trump just announced that this fighting may last 4 or 5 weeks, a huge chance from his original only a few days prediction. We'll see. No one's got a crystal ball here. I did see the dollar was up. Look at that safe haven, the old-fashioned dollar, right? It's been under a lot of criticism as of late. But, I'm not too surprised by that because especially if, United States, again, becoming, stronger on a global perspective and it's less challenging of the dollar, I could see the dollar doing that. I did see the surge in Bitcoin, which, crypto in general, probably a lot of people, fleeing the country, not just Iran, but there's a lot of countries there in turmoil, putting their money in crypto so they could transfer it, cross borders, things like that. But I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for crypto going up. But again, crypto or Bitcoin in particular does really well in countries where, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? You need to get out of the country. You need to get out of that local currency. I'm sure you can't just go to a bank to get a bunch of USD in Iran. So I imagine, Bitcoin might benefit from some of this geopolitical tension and unrest in the Middle East as well. Probably not as much as we might think, but it could help, trigger some traders to join in, pick up some momentum there. And we'll see how it plays out. But I did see that bump in Bitcoin today. Look, some of the other cryptos too, moving is pretty well. But this one here, if you're going to do the petroleum, if you're going to do the natural gas, all that stuff, of course, we can look at the charts. But this is what you have to keep in mind of, right? This is what you have to stay on the news, the Strait of Hormuz, right? Because we find out 3 days from now, the ships are moving fine and dandy, which, who knows if they will or not. Yeah, that's probably going to impact those prices, right? Come back down. The trade will be over, right? So just keep that in mind that you're going to have to stick, keep your ear to this noise or this news situation. Really take, advantage of this trade, essentially, right? Now, one thing that I was interested in, we know that Trump has an upcoming trip to China. How this will affect that trip. U.S. strikes on Iran raise doubts about Trump's planned visit to China. Prediction markets, again, prediction markets, how a lot of people, think and analyze these. Prediction markets, not a bad way to do it, right? They tend, they put the odds of the house, right? But you can see prediction markets showed increased bets on a greater likelihood of a delayed Trump trip. Analysts said trade talks may outweigh geopolitical tensions for both sides. So I'm just curious to see how that works here. You see UAMY up about 14%. Here we go. President Xi Jinping won't feel easy about the death of the top leader of Iran. Obviously, what happened in Venezuela. So, if the meeting doesn't happen, I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised here. But I do see this benefiting some rare earth plays, right? I do see this benefiting some rare earth plays. Here it is right here. How the Iran conflict could trigger a wider economic shock. It's all about the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global trade route for oil and natural gas, right? So the whole thing why these stocks are moving right now is because the shipping grind to a halt, right? So you got to keep an eye on that shipping, Actually, this campaign will compel Russia and China to become closer. Pennywise, I don't like to get into many politics. Well, I guess this is international politics. But yes, Pennywise, I'm going to agree with that. I mean, think about it. We took Venezuela away. We took, we're taking Iran away, essentially, as far as, providing, a lot of cheap and discounted energy, not just energy, but it's discounted, right? That sanctioned oil was a little bit cheaper than the regular oil. The ships are anchored. There's a whole map. I mean, you can Google it if you're in LNG trades or petroleum trades. If you're trying to, do this route, I would look at the map, right? And make sure your map's up to date. Because if your map's behind the times and these ships start moving and your map is still showing them as stagnant, you might get hurt. The ships are anchored. But yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Pennywise, on that. I'm sure it will. I mean, they're going to get their oil. They're probably going to build more pipelines into Russia, if I had to guess, right? All right. So this is interesting how China's rare earth ban backfired U.S. tech breakthrough. This one here is talking about alloy, real alloy. So I did put it in the list. But again, I've said this, be careful with these rare earth stocks because a lot of them are hype, right? That's why I like looking at the value of some of these and looking at the earnings per share of some of these rare earth stocks to, tell the difference, whether it's, simply a momentum swing trade, or is this an investment, right? But that being said, we're going to take a look at these two. In full disclosure, I did purchase UAMY today. If you missed that in the intro in my portfolio here. All right. Last story today. This might stop some of that bleeding since earnings. NVIDIA to invest $2 billion each in Lumentum and Coherent. We will take a look at the Photonics stocks. Again, this is a subject we talked about over 2 months ago. I did a video on this, and those stocks have done very well. They've done very well. Even, I don't think it was 2 weeks ago, I mentioned on a stream, TSMC, the founder, Morris Chang, his dissertation was on photonics, and if you saw it, got pretty complex pretty quick on how they describe that. But I have been saying it, that photonics is key. It is going to help with the silver bottleneck. Essentially, if you're holding silver, photonics could ease some pressure on silver prices, potentially, at least when it comes to AI data centers, things of that nature. Look at oil companies that don't have large operations in the Middle East for best performers like CNQ, EOG, both of which I hold. Hey, we could take a look. What was it, Guyana? I talked about 2 weeks ago. They were up last week. I imagine they're killing it this week, right? I want the oil stocks that can still sell their oil, right? All right, let's take a look at this. Let's go to viewers and make sure you hit that like button because I'm sticking to Glenn's rule today. Every 10 likes, you get a stock. So right now, you guys can get quite a few stocks if everyone hits that like button. So do it. Hit the share button so that way we can get some of this information out to your friends, family, co-workers. Get them on the right path in the market. Now, here's earnings. Broadcom, actually undervalued now. Slightly overvalued. Let me resort these here. AES down 17% here. Broadcom. AES had some news. I think it had earnings, I believe, but also had some news as well. Target here down ever so slightly. Let's see what Ross is doing. About a 1% to the downside. A lot of overvalued stocks reporting. Let's just see if they got some good earnings here. Justifying this stuff. CrowdStrike 22%. AST. Ooh, their sales is maxed out. But CrowdStrike's -1 in earnings growth rate. Not necessarily what I'd like to see. One stock per one like. Bill, I'd be here all afternoon. ETS for defense companies in the Middle East. I'd have to do some research on that, but if you guys can Google it, because I'm going to do a segment before I get to your general picks. But I'm going to ask probably the first 10, not right now, so don't put them in. I'm going to ask for the geopolitical plays, the petroleum, the defense, the rare earths could be in there, LNG, things of that nature. But let's take a look at these stocks. These are the earnings ones. A little overvalued. Okay, overvalued, earnings dropping, earnings per share dropping, not liking that. The gap down this morning. Nope, not liking that one for earnings. Let the dust settle. Here's Broadcom. I've talked about quite a bit. I did get rid of this lines last time, so I was talking about the ascending channel here, a little bit of a channel. You can see it clearly, right? Boom, boom, boom. Make these a little bit bigger. At least the top line, so you can see. If I do earnings here, see, it was right at the top of that channel and overvalued right here, fairly valued. And I don't see necessarily, a bearish chart pattern like this low, higher than swing low. RT still under pressure. So yes, under pressure here with this position, currently trading at 316. Looking better, looking more attractive, rather than, 400 being overvalued. But earnings per share is flat. Hopefully this earnings report can help tick up this EPS. We've seen this as a common theme with a lot of stocks since the beginning of the year. We'll see. But what I like right now, it's a little early, especially if you want to jump into Broadcom before the earnings. I'd let the dust settle if you're not already in it, but I'm going to say I'm a little bit more optimistic. NVIDIA dropped a little bit here. I'm not going to be optimistic enough to make a bullish bet on it, but I will be a little bit more optimistic rather than this situation, the last earnings situation, right? If it gap down a little bit, wouldn't be surprised. If you got some patience, you might be able to get Broadcom undervalued here in the near future. But I really want that earnings per share to tick up. That's one big concern for me. Here's Target. Price action is up to the upside. Values to the upside. RT. Let's do this. Dateline. RT getting us a good opportunity here. Letting us know. Bulls starting to take control. But look at the earnings per share. It's just on the decline. Pretty steep decline. I can't get too excited about this one, to be honest. I'm just not here. Not that excited about it. He's a freehand line. We're pretty close to the trend line here, so be careful it breaks that. But yeah, not too optimistic with Target. Here's Credo. Again, overvalued, rising earnings. As long as it held the trend line here, I was happy with it. But no, get rid of that. But now I see, it's trying to catch this level of support here from this consolidation of these two little lines here. I like what I see. It's just a better valuation. Earnings per share, again, stagnant. That's not what I want to see. Here, as earnings per share was rising steadily, investors had no problem paying that premium, right? Making that money. But as soon as EPS kind of stalled out here, we're seeing price pressure on. So just be careful of that one. But otherwise, I kind of like this level of support. Here's Box. No, the value's dropping. The earnings per share is dropping. I don't like anything about that one. Here's Ross. Man, Ross, I'm going to tell you right now, looks like we got a little channel here. I love a good channel. They're just typically easy to play. Ooh, interesting. It's right at the top of the channel. Each time it's gone up here, kind of pulled back a little bit. I like the earnings per share rising. Looks better than Target. Definitely want to be a buyer here at the top of the channel. Now, if we break out to the upside, and I can really see it, maybe as far as, Ross, typically a little bit more on the consumer defensive side of things. What you think of Shop? We can take a look at Shop here in a little bit. Otherwise, you have Israel's ESLT, a drone play. I've heard of that symbol before. But this one a little bit on the upper end of that channel. I'm not liking it. Here's GitLab. Again, we were in a little consolidation channel here. See that two little lines. Broke it. Came back for the retest. That was the short opportunity for sure, this retest. I love shorting. Me personally, it'd be more put options. Shorting this retest here from the bottom end in an overvalued position. And look at this earnings per share. It's not stagnant like the other companies. This is actually declining, right? So no, I'm not going to get too excited about GitLab right now. Here's on. I love the shoes. I love the shoes. I'm wearing a pair right now. But as far as the stock, earnings per share kind of flat. It started to tick back up here. Let's see here. That was 162 or 161. So yeah, pretty stagnant, a little to the downside. Values rising, price kind of back here. Let's go back a little further. The stock's always traded at a premium, but now you can see price action on the retracement, value on the rise. Try to meet somewhere in the middle, right? Trying to meet somewhere in the middle. Wouldn't be in a rush for this one before earnings if you're in it. I do like... I like the fact we might have a little trend here because look at this. If I do this, boom, 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 connect these two and connect this one. Oh, it's bouncing right off this trend line. Look at that. Let's do this. Let's switch this to a video. This one here, this is my custom layout. I got the 20-day EMA. I've got our stop price, which stop price keeping us in the trade right now. But look at this trend line. This looks good. See what happens here. A nice retest. See if we get above that 20-day EMA. Again, just depends how the market's doing. Not looking too optimistic. I'm not going to say optimistic, but just be cautious right now, especially with earnings. I do like this stock, but I want to be buying right before earnings today. Here's AVAV. Ooh, gap up. This is an aerospace and defense stock. It's been a hot one. Look at this trend line here. Oh, yeah. Try to break back above it. Got rejection shortly after. And look at today. This is earnings today. No. Yeah, earnings is this week, though. What's going on with AVAV? Anybody know the news? Yeah, I'm not broke right through my support zone. Value actually on the decline over the last year and 3 months. Earnings per share is higher, but look how volatile it is. Actually on the decline quite a bit since the beginning of the year here. Nope, don't like AVAV. Not like an AVAV. Here's Riot. I have to look at Bitcoin, see what it's doing. Now that we broke above this little support zone, I want to stay above this line here. It's around 14.95. Earnings per share is negative. Value overvalued. A lot of risk here with this crypto one. Be careful. Here's Archer Aviation. Price action on the decline. Earnings per share on the decline. Value, it did rise, but pretty stagnant. Nope, don't like this. Here's all the initial, momentum, probably news driven. Looks like maybe earnings here, maybe some partnerships. But after that, the premium was baked in, and it just became a little swing trade stock, right? Not really an investable one. Here is SATS. Yeah, value's declining. And yeah, earnings per share is dropping. But you know what's working out pretty well with this stock? I just randomly look at the stop price. Every time it comes down to the stop price, comes back up. You'd have to see exactly what the stock is doing. But value, EPS, forecasted EPS, not getting me excited about the stock. It's definitely going to have to be more of a price momentum. I just use a freehand. I'm just curious here. Boom, 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 boom. Yep, it's trying to catch this trend line here. So if you are in this one, this is the trend line I would focus on. You can see that coming right back down on this trend line. If it breaks it, I would get defensive. Here's ASTS. I'd probably look for the retest on the 20-day EMA, but also look for rejection. Earnings can be a big factor of that. Stock is overvalued. Earnings per share negative, slightly improving, but pretty volatile along the way. Still negative. RT below 1. You can see here RT went below 1. Right around the retest from the bottom end of this 20-day EMA. Doing a great job, but the price pressure is on. I can't get behind that one right now. CrowdStrike. Ooh, no. Rejection at the 20. Rejection at the 20. Overvalued. They got to bring some good stuff to the earnings call to get investors enthused. But look at this earnings per share right now. Again, if it was stagnant or slightly due to the downside, wouldn't be that concerned. But you can see here with the chart, definitely losing momentum off that EPS high. Looks like the high was around 481. Now earnings per share. See here, 451. And look at the growth rate here. -1 now. What was it before? Oh, -2. Yeah, so it was positive a little bit here, but then went negative right around in here. So as soon as the growth rate, forecasted growth rate went negative, look at the price action. So yeah, not a whole lot of good things going on with that stock right now. We'll see what happens, but with sell recommendations, I'm not going to be a big advocate for it. All right, let's get down to this Photonics one real quick. Because LITE, obviously, is a popular stock. This is a video I did about over 2 months ago. You can see the big players here. Coherent Group up 13%. LITE up about 10%. Some of these other Photonic stocks gaining a little bit of momentum here. We've got Poet up 11%. This is one I've done a couple videos on. And it's speculative. I mean, look at RV, look at RS. You got to do your research on it. It's going to be the smaller cap one, smaller player. Just around $1 billion, while some of these other ones around 55 billion. The big players here, it's going to be Coherent. It's going to be low momentum, right? But this Applied Optics here, also a big player. Then you've got Broadcom, been there, Cadence Design Systems, Marvel as well. So let's graph these, just see how the price action is. That's nice. A lot of momentum there. I mean, for the market being as volatile as it is, this stock's trading at session highs here. It is overvalued. Earnings per share, just like some of these other stocks, pretty stagnant, or a little bit of those, a little bit of given away over the last 2 months here, but not a bad stock. A little overextended from the 20-day for me to be chasing it, but you can see the pivots from the 20 here. Usually a pretty good time for accumulation. As long as it keeps retesting that 20-day EMA from the top end, I would be optimistic. Once it, not going to say once, if it breaks it in the near future and you start seeing retests from the bottom end, there we go. Can you comment on Netflix? Yeah, I'll talk about Netflix here in just a few. Netflix is a trade that I'm currently in my YouTube portfolio here. Here is LITE. Look at it, it broke the channel here. You see a lot of the consolidations within this channel. Broke to the downside. Look at that momentum. Again, value is rising, earnings per share is rising, but investors are paying premiums for a lot of these stocks right now. So just keep that in mind. Here's Applied AOI. There it is. There's the break. Boom, boom, boom. A little ascending channel, right? My line's a little thin. I can make it bigger here. That is a clear break. I'm like what I see in here today. Gap up. Trying to give some of it away here. Just be careful of this one. Again, overextended. P-Lab. You can see the momentum in these Photonic stocks here. Broadcom, the momentum's not there. It's got, it had some momentum, but ever since that earnings and breaking that channel, to the downside. Lackluster there. Not that I'm going to give up on Broadcom, just not right now. Here's IPGP. This looks like a phenomenal trade. See if we get a breakout, potentially. Might be able to get some momentum here. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. You see the momentum building up here. Wait for the breakout. See cadence design, downtrend. No, I'm not going to be in a rush again. It looks like values rising, prices dropping, and earnings per share is dropping. Maybe these two could meet a little bit more in the middle. Get me excited. Here's Marvel, undervalued. This stock pretty volatile, kind of losing some of those headlines here. Looks like some head and shoulder patterns, probably putting some fears in investors, but look at the value, look at the earnings per share. This one's actually ticked up since the beginning of the year. This is interesting. I kind of like Marvel. Let's see here. EPS 358, now it's at 364. That's a good sign. RT relative timing, trying to pop its head back in the favorable side of things, still just below the oscillation point of 1. So the short-term price trend, not favorable for the bulls. But it's kind of neutral right now. But what I do like, it's moving in the right direction, right? I like the undervaluedness. I like earnings per share on the rise with this position. Here's Intel. Extend these out a little bit here. I'll tell you right now, if I'm going to trade Intel, I don't know about an investment. I'd wait for it to touch this line here. So we get some pivot action, right? Otherwise, that value needs to keep going up. Growth rate, -7. No Intel. But yeah, as far as Intel, depending on how you feel, depending on what the market does. If if you see some rejection here, you could play it to the downside. But still, it's reacting to these two trend lines pretty well here. So I'd look closer to this bottom one. See if we get a nice pivot off it. See what happens. Here's Synopsys. Value steadily on the decline. Earnings per share on the decline. Nope, not a big fan of this one. Poet. I told you this is speculative here. It's been a good swing trading stock as of late. If I scroll back, still had a little bit of shoulder head. Well, looks like the shoulder broke above. Stick on that trend line there. Stay defensive. I like the optimism I'm seeing today. This is where the resistance has historically came in around $7 to about $7.80. Right? You see a little bit of pops above that, but they're pretty short-lived. So be careful with that one. One stock I did like, since we're talking about when we talk about UAMY, this is why I got into it today. Broke the trend line. Big trend line too, right? Look at my portfolios. There it is, about 5%. Looks like my NVIDIA trades and Oracle are behaving a little bit better. Netflix up 16% right now. Overall, because I just started, technically I started at the beginning of the year, but I didn't really start filling these positions till last week. Go figure, war would break out as soon as I started buying some stocks, right? But I will say I'm happy for not owning any petroleum, any natural gas stocks, and I'm up just over 1% here. And I'm still sitting mostly in cash. Again, we reset this portfolio, so putting out cash in places I see fit, but still got a lot of cash in case things happen. Now, as far as REITs, it's been stagnant here for quite a while, down 6%. Not much going on there with the nitro, but again, not much going on with the Qs either, right? So it's doing its job. Here's Glenn, up 2.75%. These are my fills on Glenn's positions. This is a straight beginning from the year. Finally, looks like it's going positive here, about 1%. I got Cousin Eddie. He's up about 11% here. But right now, looks like I'm coming back because I was getting close to about, let's see here, 27%. So it looks like I am approaching that prior swing high on my portfolio. So we'll see what happens. But hey, I wasn't going to jump into petroleum, but real quick, let's talk about UAMY. And what was the other one I was going to talk about? Ooh, I'll get back to it. My resistance here, right? I called this before. I didn't say I call it before, but I've spoke on this before. We had this gap fill. We came in, we filled the gap last time. Instant rejection, right? Right now, I see a little bit of a wick here. So be careful in case it starts to pull back, right? Because I've said it before. UAMY above this red line, that's traders territory, momentum territory, active style, right? Now, below that red line, yes, probably some investment opportunities there, and that's what I took advantage of back here. in my 2026, hold portfolio, buy and hold portfolio. What about Uncle Joey's portfolio? Joey, you gonna do a portfolio for us? We'll see if we get Joey to do a portfolio. Crazy 80s. Oh, Joey said he'll get the JPI going. Oh man, there we go. JPI. Cousin Eddie, his stocks are insane. Yeah. Well, if you know about the story of Cousin Eddie, and I actually went to go visit him this weekend. He is an individual that has guided me in some very complex topics such as semiconductors, quantum physics. That's actually what he does. But he's like an AI, ML. He's got all kinds of certifications. I actually just saw that thing, but he's different, and he is not diversified, as you can tell if I go to portfolios. He's all in on these. Google, Intel, MU, NVDA, TSM, right? Now, how he manages these, but he's been in some of these for a long time. He keeps adding to them, right? So he's a little bit different. He's not diversified, but as you can tell, and this is just the beginning. He's owned these of this year. He's owned these for a while now, majority of them. Let's see here. Let's go back to viewers. But yeah, just be careful, UAMY right here at the resistance level. Let's get back to news picks real quick. Cousin Eddie got all the letters after his name. Let's see here. So I've got UAMY. Oh, AMSC. That's the stock I wanted to look at today. Real Alloys. It was down 20%. Now it's down 10%. This is all I'm going to say about rare earth. Just be careful. This one here, way overvalued. UAMY, when it gets back below that red line, at least it's close to its valuation. Above that red line is typically where we see volatility, momentum pickup. And that's where the trading really gets involved, right? We'll take a look at American Semiconductor. The other ones I have here, they're all LNG related. They're ETFs. And you can see they're all up today. All right, so here's my UAMY. So this is my first trend line here. We broke. We're hitting the next one now. From these two candlesticks to this one. We'll see, but I see resistance here still. So I like the momentum I'm seeing today. AMSC Semiconductor. So this is the one, if I get to a year. We talked about a while ago. But look, it just had too much hype, too much momentum. You could see the price action diverging away from the company's fundamentals. So if I hit earnings, boom, the reality check came into place. And more often than we see, price action came down to meet value, right? And you see value didn't have to rise too much. Price action came down a little bit more. But now I'm seeing some interesting stuff here. Look at the stocks. Undervalued, fair valuation. I mean, the name alone can can cause retail traders to come around, right? There's a story behind it, but look at RT starting to show some positivity for the short-term price trend, and look at the earnings per share actually rising since the beginning of the year, right? I've made a lot of money trading. Okay, so they do wind turbines. Interesting. But yeah, so this hype, right? And it could easily come back, but this opportunity I see has a little base here, obviously, but now it's close to our fundamentals. And look at this gap. I got a gap here. I got a huge gap. And you know what traders like to do? Or invest? I don't know about investors so much, but definitely traders, they like to fill gaps. And I'm not saying it's going to go straight up there, but at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if that gap got filled, especially if that value keeps climbing, especially if the earnings per share keeps climbing, right? Just doing like what it's doing now. Here's Real Alloys. Again, just be careful with some of these, rare earth stocks. This one, you see lower left, upper right. But yeah, definitely some volatility in between. But look at the valuation on the decline. Not like UAMY, where it's actually rising, right? Earnings per share, negative here. And actually dropping quite a bit since the beginning of the year. So be careful with this one. If I'm looking for support, if you're holding it, actually down below it. So just be careful with this one. Yeah, I'm not liking this one too much. But yeah, be careful of this rejection here around 1770. Let's see. It looks, look at this bottom wick. Bottom wick right there at the 20-day EMA. Retested this. I like the pivot. A little late now. Now, if you're not in already, I'm waiting for confirmation. You know, this could easily go back. All right, so here's the ETFs. Let's get rid of value. Here's the natural gas. You see the jump up today. Rejection at that 20. Just careful you don't get rejection here, right? Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. No one here will know what's going to happen, right? But if those ships keep, if they go from stagnant, to anchored out at sea to now start flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, yeah, I can see that price coming back down, right? You see it right here. And this one, a lot of momentum, a lot of volatility of natural gas in general. But I'd like to, if you didn't already get into it, if you didn't buy, last Friday or last Thursday, waiting for some confirmation above the 20-day EMA, probably not a bad idea. UNG, again, just shy of the 20. Boyle, again, this one's definitely shy of the 20 here. We had a lot of momentum during this time frame, but still, we're below the 20. I'm just not quite that sold on the natural gas after looking at these ETFs. So again, make informed decisions here. All right, let's get out of these. All right, real quick before I get to your general stock picks, we've got 1241. Give me the first 6 stocks. We'll do 6 stocks. I'm buying one: petroleum, natural gas, aerospace, and defense. All the geopolitical type of stocks that you guys might be holding. And the one I'll put in is ISSC. This one actually I'm holding in my 2026 portfolio. And then we'll get to the general stock picks. CNQ, Canadian Natural Resources. Okay, I'm kind of liking that. ETN, what's ETN? Eaton Corp. CRS. USO. I do Palantir. How many is this here? I am actually interested in Red Cat. We'll do Red Cat and TAT. All right, I'm in here, and the ones that are not aerospace and okay, yeah, I did put that over here. Oh, no. Well, I'll be hit that line one time. There we go. Ooh. Oh, come on. That one's gotta go. So that one can work. That one, I will keep that one for manufacturing purposes. All right, we'll keep these actually. Let's graph these. Oh, wrong window. There we go. Oh man, it's $28 now. Woo! I put this in my portfolio before. Look at this value. I got it undervalued somewhere in here. That had been probably the beginning of the year. It's probably in here somewhere. Value is rising. Earnings per share is ticking up. Phenomenal stock. Yeah, it's a little on the overvalued side. A little stretch from the 20. But with the news and everything going on, probably take advantage of some momentum there. RT, well above 1. Momentum in favor of the bulls. Earnings per share on the rise again. We're seeing a common theme. A lot of stocks, pretty stagnant or slightly to the downside on earnings per share. So if I'm seeing rising earnings per share since the beginning of the year in a stock, I'm going to get excited about that one, right? That one looks good. I like ISE. TAT, let's go to 6 months. Phenomenal. I'm looking for a floor or support here. Nice little retest, probably somewhere in here. Yep. It's like it broke it, came right back, right? Broke it here. 3 candlesticks, retested it. We're actually retested it a couple times near this line. Those bottom wicks. But earnings per share. This one here, lower. Not a bad stock, though. I like it. See it gapped up, but an upper wick here. This is the difference. Look at ISSE. Follow through on the news. Gapped up. Doesn't look like very pretty follow through, right? So I want to be in a rush on this one. No real no signs of trouble, but just not the follow through I'd like to see, from these events that happen over the weekend. And here's ETN. Trying to hold on that 20, right? Trying to hold on the 20. RT still above 1, but if we start getting below that 20 and retesting, here's a break, retest from the bottom, retest from the bottom, retest from the bottom, and finally broke it here. And then we started retesting from the top. So we'll see if we break it. But again, the stock's overvalued. Buy rating in effect, so no real reasons for concern, but the earnings per share is tapering off the last few months. Here's RCAT, upper wick here, overvalued. I don't like those earnings per share. I mean, we got sell recommendations, not a whole lot of, probably it was around $10. I was at 14. That's about 40%, but pretty volatile. It looks like a cup. A little bit of a handle here. We'll see if that formation comes, but it doesn't look like it wants to. We're going to have an upper wick here. If we can break above, probably right in here, I would see as the resistance at the top of the cup. Not an interesting trade, but I want to be getting into it for the fundamentals or forecasted earnings. That's for sure. Here is DRIP. You're going to ETF short. So you'd be shorting oil and gas bearish is double leveraged here. As far as shorting it, you see that's not working out too well. You can buy some puts, things of that nature. Look at the gap down. I will say, look how overextended. When it gapped down, you see it's a little overextended from the 20. Let's just use a freehand line. It's a little easier here, but if I do this, right, just put a line here. Style. You can see kind of price action staying within this range here of the 20-day EMA. It doesn't really like to go much further than this. It only took me 2 seconds to pick up on that. But now we got a little overstretched and we're coming right back into its comfort zone. So again, just keep an eye on the Strait of Hormuz here. But yeah, did oil get a little stretch? Looking on this one here, not too surprised, but you just got, who knows what's going to happen, right? If you're in this, you better keep your ear to what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz, right? Because all it takes is, Qatar is opening up production, or, who knows what'll happen, or it could be the adverse effect. Tensions rise, things can happen, right? But this actually, I kind of like this little line here. Let's do this, make it a little cleaner. It does look like it's going off a pretty good trend line here. There it is. Oh, there's the touch on the trend line. Boom. Look at that. So it looks like we're just probably pivoting off this trend line here, like we have before in the past. And you can see the 20-day EMA, closer you get, it's probably better time to open up, shorts on oil and gas here. All right, here's aerospace and defense. I like this one. See, look, boom. So use that, brought us right up to here. And honestly, I'm going to do the same thing because it worked last time. But right here, it's off the charts, right? So that is roughly, I'd have to do the math here. What was that about? 244 to about 224. So about $20. So that would put me around 260 to about 264, maybe, roughly. And you see that was pretty rough math, and my line's not that straight, so make sure you recorrect that math. That's kind of logic I would take because it worked back here, the symmetry. We'll see if we get another symmetrical move to the upside. Canadian oil stocks are the place to be. I'm not going to say they're not, especially with the partnership. Here's USO. Look at that. Gapped up again. That's a big gap there. So I'm not surprised that investors are kind of take a little bit of a breather here. We'll see what happens. See, as soon as it broke this trend line, it's been off to the races. The 20-day EMA, that's your entry point. It's overextended right now, so that's on you if you're going to jump into this right now. Here's CNQ. Y'all ain't lying. That is the place to be right now. Ooh. Look at this. Value dropping. Earnings per share is flat. Just stick to the technicals, right? Stick to the technicals. Let's see how last run did. Here's a run. Got a run, a little 20. See, it does look like the 20-day for accumulation does work out pretty well here. I can see we're pretty overextended from that, kind of to the adverse effect from the other chart. If I do the same thing here, do a little freehand line. All right. See price action here, trying to stay kind of within this range of the 20-day EMA. And once you get out a little bit, you can see it took a breather here. Last few candlesticks, regrouped. And then now we're just a little overstretched again, right? So I'm not going to say the trade is over, but just from what I'm seeing here, CNQ is the largest reserves in Canada, and CNQ is expanding its liquid natural gas offerings. Nice. I like the stock for sure. Just from a trader's perspective, a little overextended from me. Keep your eye on the news or your ear on the news here. But I like what I'm hearing in the comments section. And yes, I do see the logic of Canadian oil benefiting from tensions in the Middle East for sure. That just makes sense to me. All right, here's Palantir. This has been an overvalued stock for quite some time. Broke the ascending channel. A lot of price pressure. I'm sure Michael Burry is not making the Palantir investors very happy as of late. But what I do like, look, rejection of the 20. Rejection at the 20. Fail to get above it. Finally above it. Now our stop price is at 146.98. Right now the stock's at 146.31. So it's not going to lose that sell rating until it gets above the stop price. And look at the, oh yeah, see, I was talking about this last week with Palantir getting above these. Look, we took out the prior swing high and the swing low, 0.47, 0.46, 0.46. So we're seeing a higher swing low and a higher swing high. So I do like the RT rebounding there, right? You can see kind of rebounding, and the momentum is still on to the downside, but we see some of that pressure relieving, and clearly you can see that price action actually trading at session highs here. So that's a good sign. This might be a good little short-term swing trade. Putting Palantir on your radar right now, especially with defense and everything going on, Iran. I know it's overvalued. I've talked enough crap about it, but stock is important. And I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, as far as little thing there. All right. And China might even look to Canada to supplement their energy needs along with Russia. Penny-wise, that part too, but there's a big vacuum, right? If Iran can't give energy, and obviously I don't know how the Venezuela and their oil, is working out with China. I haven't really kept up with that too much. But yes, I see a huge vacuum that is going to be needed to filled, right? And they're going to, look. And Canada, geographically, not that far, from China. So those shipping lanes would make sense. They have the infrastructure. So we'll see. Palantir is probably used to make the target packet for the OP that killed Ayatollah. I don't know what capacity, but I imagine there's some capacity as far as their role in this Iranian conflict, right? All right. That's CRS here. Oh, 252. Perfect. So now we're going to get to your stocks. So let me empty this. So now the first, how many likes we got? 7 stocks. Any stock you want. I don't care what. It doesn't have to be oil, petroleum. It can be anything. Maybe there's something in the market we're missing. That's why I wanted to bring up Photonics stocks again, because I just see a potential there. That creates just like there's a bottleneck in the Strait of Hormuz, there's a bottleneck in AI. These Photonics stocks can help out with that. So just throwing that out there here. Your picks. I accidentally deleted it here. Boom. Oh wait, your picks. Midday. There we go. All right, let me scroll up here. Oh, let's see here. What about PD? PD. Oh, okay. There you go. A little TSEM. TXT. Textron. Okay. There you go. Give me some stocks we're not always talking about here. I feel like there's some opportunities out there people aren't talking about. Circle. Interesting. Let's see what Circle's up to. Emphasis. No, sorry. Let's see here. RTX. How many we got here? 8. NVDA I'll give you. That one, that's a stock that I own in my portfolio here again. Down 3%. Oh, wait, no. That's Cousin Eddie. Where am I at here? Is my pick? No, that's the other portfolio. Live Active. And if you notice my cost basis, I didn't put much exposure. There's only, $12,000 worth of exposure between these two companies, NVIDIA and Oracle, right? My bigger holdings, Netflix at 8,000, UAMY close to 8,000. The only reason why I didn't go full positions, There's a lot going on in the world, right? So I'm taking smaller position sizes until I feel more confident, from the color guard and just the market in general. But hey, we'll see. It's working out right now. We'll see. Hopefully it does. Right. All right. So here we got some good stocks here. Where's the value at? You know what I mean? PD, NVDA. Okay, let's see here. Let's graph these real quick. I'm curious. Ooh, God. Talk about a knife. All right, so two things I'm going to address here. A, value keeps falling, right? So I need to see that value tick up. I'd look at it just like RT, just like candlesticks. I want to see higher swing lows, higher swing highs, right? So here's a little swing high here. Let's do a date line. We'll pivot to the upside right here. It's around 1539. Right now, values of... Oh, wait, no, that's 1587. Value right now is at 1467. So I'd like to see value tick up, taking this out, start to do an uptrend here. That would be nice. Earnings per share, it's actually rising since January. Interesting. This is software security as well. Let's go back a little bit. Where might it pivot? Oh, this stock is interesting. Let's go back, see what we got here. I mean, the stock was trading at a premium, a lot of momentum. It's software security, a lot of reasons for investors to get excited. The earnings per share was negative and improving, but what I'm seeing is the stock is undervalued. Earnings per share is rising. See what's going on with the stock. Something might be going on, but an opportunity might be coming up soon. You hit a new low here. So the guessing game is there's nothing to really pivot off from the downside because we're at all-time low, right? So again, be careful with this one. We got strong sell rating. I'd like to see a little bit more life and value. And honestly, seeing price action get above the 20, since it's really failed to do so over the last 6 months here, that would also just, logically thinking, get me excited too, right? Right now, if you jump into this, I don't know what's going to happen. You probably should get your cowboy hat because I have a feeling you might be going for a ride, right? That's just how I feel about this one right now. It's a dangerous one. It's a dangerous one. I'm not gonna, RT. I gotta see a little bit more confidence in this position, right? It could work out well for you, but also be a headache. Here's NVIDIA. Finally, my last little line here, 176. Otherwise, I thought we might be hitting the bottom of this channel, which probably would have just cut it off early then. But if it wasn't for this nice day today, probably would have cut this one off a little early. Still in the channel, but look at the value. Oh, since the earnings, look at that. Value's ticking up again. 262, 265. Earnings per share actually ticked up as well. 765, 775. I'm going to hold on to my NVIDIA for right now. I'm not too worried about this NVIDIA. If it breaks this channel, then I'll be a little bit more worried. But honestly, I think my stop will stop me right before that. But if we break out to the upside of the channel, I wouldn't have a problem deploying, more cash and filling more of this position if it started working for me, right? But as long as it's in this channel, I'm not going to put more cash into it, right? That's just a pain, right? If this war continues beyond this week, we're going to start to see that things get really interesting for energy. Yeah, bud. I actually told my girlfriend today, fill up the gas tank because I imagine, prices are going to go up this week, right? I've actually got a full tank this morning. Because I imagine, if I waited tomorrow or the next day, I'd probably just be paying a little bit more, right? The longer the consolidation, the bigger the move. Yeah, Alex, but it doesn't mean I want to sit in the consolidation forever. But the good thing is, I just started my consolidation journey with NVIDIA last week. Some of you already know this consolidation journey has been going on since July of last year. So we're getting, we're about to enter spring now. So getting close, 3/4 of a year here. I see that fueling up. I don't know. Am I the only one here? Am I the only one here? Ryan, you studied war issues at university. My senior thesis was, very ironic with everything going on, was ICBM, multi-stage missile defense systems, over the GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, to protect itself from Iranian interest, protect U.S. assets there, right? Energy. Essentially everything going on in the world today, right? But I studied this. It was a little bit more interesting. I don't know if many of y'all remember the Arab Spring days. I've been out of college a while. I've been holding NVIDIA since 2022. Pennywise, I'm sure you're not too worried about this little consolidation, right? NVIDIA since 2017. Nice. Yeah. And that's probably one thing I will do, because I know Glenn kind of reset his portfolio every January. I know each year. I'm probably not going to do that. I don't see the point in that, because, you know, everyone watching this, no one resets their portfolio every January. So I would just continue that growth into next year. We'll see how it goes. I used to help build ICBMs. Good time. Did you really, Roger? Oh yeah, I had a, you know, and this was a long time ago. I had, you know, Aegis, you know, THAAD missile defense systems. You know, China wasn't really a player in that when I did my studying back in the day. It was mostly, you know, Russian, Israeli, and U.S. defenses. And sometimes Turkey. You know, I have to learn a little bit about Turkey, but that was a long time ago. But that's pretty much what my senior thesis is on. Well, I don't know if that was my... No, actually, that wasn't my senior thesis, technically. I forgot which that one was. My senior thesis was taking a group of students from UNC Charlotte to compete at LAS, the League of Arab States, debate conference in Georgetown University, which I did get a national award. Woo woo! For they got actually represented the UAE that year, which I went to their embassy. That was cool. Also represented Tunisia one year. And heads up, their embassy not as nice as UAE's. Shocker, I know, right? Turkey's defense industry is growing almost as fast as South Korea's. Pennywise, they're on my radar now. Again, I'm not writing a senior thesis about you know, multi-stage. ICBM, defense systems, that kind of stuff anymore. But yeah, I see Turkey, South Korea, all those countries loading up here. NVIDIA, I like the base. We'll see if it breaks out. TXT, value is rising. I kind of like this, not going to lie. I would a little bit of a cup here. I'm going to do freehand line, actually. Yeah, that's the pivot I'm looking for, right on the 20. I'm actually liking this pivot here. So watch around 80, 83. If it comes down and breaks it, right now I got $100. So you got a little bit of a room there, right? 25% move to the upside. Oh, wait, no. It's 96.83. Sorry, my eyes. Whew, maybe I need to go to the doctor's, get some eyeglasses. That's not good. Exelon Corp, right back into my resistance area, my zone here I've talked about before. So I want to be a big buyer of it. Get a little bit too much rejection. Make sure you have a plan in place. But you can see, where did I get that from? Gotta be something back here. I'll just make, yep, there it goes. Got it from back there, consolidation. I don't just make lines for no reason. I'm not that bored. But this looks good. Let's just get it. Let's break above this. I got $50 on here for a reason. Clearly, I want to see a little bit more confirmation. I want to be buying it right at resistance. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Here's Moga. Yeah, I can see why you're talking about this one. As far as Moga, I'm trying to project profits here. Yeah, that's their resistance. That's where it comes in. Touch here, touch there, a little bit touch here, a little wiggy wobby. That's a Glenn. It's a little wiggy wobby. But again, we're still there. We're still close to it. And if I'm just, you know, logically thinking, if there's one on the top, let me just put one on the bottom here. You can see they're spreading out a little bit. That's kind of how I would play this. You know, obviously if it breaks to 20, you know, look to see if it sustains. But this trend line about road B, I'm a little bit more on the taking profit side just because it's at the top of the channel. It could still be in the channel though. So I don't know when you bought it, what your goals are. As of right now, I'm seeing a little bit on the top end of the resistance where these levels are. Earnings per share, no, nothing really too concerning there. It's rising over the last few months. Let's go to 6 months. Nice rise. RT trying to break this little bit of a downtrend here after today's move to the upside. That's a good sign as well. RTX, nice gap up. You know, other than just filling the gap, because that could be a natural sign too. This is where I'd want to see it stay above. You see the bottom wick here coming close to it. Nice. And it's a natural level of support here. So we'll see if this momentum can continue. It is aerospace and defense. Investors are paying a premium. You can see value actually dropped from where it was. Where was this? October 30th. It was 138. Now it's at 138. So, and EPS is on the downside. Just be careful. Again, news is probably driving it right now. This is the level I want to stay above right here, right where those swing highs are. Here's TSEM. Now, what I do like about this, value was flat But I've said it before. I don't mind an overvalued stock. Obviously, price action. I want it to look good, right? But value rising, giving me some optimism. Earnings per share, that's the engine that drives that stock even higher. Look at the growth rate, 14%. It was negative and rising. This ain't a bad stock. I'm just going to take a look here real quick, so we got to go. But what's the RV? Ooh, RV, it's improving. It's improving. Overall, for an overvalued position, it's not a bad one. I'm going to say it's not a bad one. I've seen a lot worse. But those are the things I would look for, right? Here's Circle. I said it before last week, and clearly it's actually working out. But once it broke above this 20, this is my essentially would be a target around $103. You know, when it broke above this, what was that? The open about 73 to 100. It's what, $30 on a $70 stock? That's almost 40-50%, right? There's a lot of room for that play. So again, just watch out what it does up here. But overall, I like it. As far as an investment, I've picked on Circle before. You know, it's just heading right toward value. Value's on decline. Earnings per share on decline. I don't see it as an investment. That's on you. But as far as the trade, yeah. You know, you already went from what's the low 70s, now 94. So most of the trade is over with. You know, if you're trying to squeeze in the last few dollars, you're looking at around 103 as the target here. All right, let's close this one here. Let's go back to the home page. We're still finishing out 3 yellow lights, but look at the Dow Jones. A lot of that pressure. Subsiding here. NASDAQ 107 now. S&P positive. Hey, we might even get a little positivity on the VectorVest composite today. We'll see how today finishes, but from where it started and where it's at right now, I like what I'm seeing in the market. The BSR, I know I don't have it on here as we're on a live stream. I would have liked that jump a little bit more. Not seeing it, but just know, have caution, and there are, you know, obviously risk in the market right now. On that note, Joey's going to kill me because we're 6 minutes late, but we got to go. Enjoy your day. I'll be working on the 6 p.m. video tomorrow. And just a heads up, for those who have access to the VectorVest software and ecosystem, I will be doing the daily color guard report all week this week. So looking forward to that. Take care, everybody. Bye.